Parts 1 and 2 gave you the foundation and the principles. This is part 3, and part 3 is where it gets real. Because the ancient world that produced Stoic philosophy did not have social media. It did not have dating apps. It did not have a comparison economy that operates 24 hours a day at the speed of a scroll. It did not have a cultural conversation about female ambition that simultaneously demands everything from you and resents you for wanting it. It did not have the specific, sophisticated, relentless modern machinery for making women feel inadequate in real time. The Stoics built their philosophy under entirely different conditions. The question is whether it holds under yours. And the answer is yes, but only if you understand how to apply it specifically to the situations that the ancient world could not have anticipated. This is that application, not theory. The actual, specific, demanding work of being a Stoic woman in the world as it actually exists right now. If you want the complete modern application of Stoic principles to the specific pressures modern women face, subscribe and hit the bell. Because after this series concludes, we're covering how a Stoic handles a breakup. No crying, no begging, no waiting for closure that never comes. But first, how to be a Stoic woman in a world the Stoics never saw. The first modern application is social media and the comparison economy. Nothing in the ancient world operated quite like this, though the Stoics came close to anticipating it. Epictetus wrote in the Discourses around 108 AD that most human suffering comes from comparing your internal experience, which you have full access to, including all its uncertainty and doubt and fear, to other people's external presentation, which you have no access to beyond what they choose to show. The comparison is structurally unfair, and the Stoics knew it. What they couldn't have anticipated is a technological system specifically engineered to maximize that comparison, to present you thousands of times a day with the curated external presentations of hundreds of other people in a format designed to make you feel that their presentation represents their actual internal experience. It does not. The woman whose life looks perfect on Instagram has the same internal life you have. Doubt, fear, insecurity, uncertainty, the gap between who she is and who she wants to be. You see her highlight reel. She lives her full film. The Stoic application here is not to delete social media or to pretend the comparison doesn't happen. It's to recognize the comparison as structurally invalid every time it arises. Their external presentation versus your internal experience is not a valid comparison. Your external presentation versus their internal experience would be equally invalid in the other direction. The only valid comparison the Stoics ever endorsed was your current self versus the person you have decided to become. And that comparison belongs entirely in your own mind, not in your feed. The second modern application is romantic relationships and the specific fear that most modern women carry, but rarely name directly, the fear of ending up alone. The Stoics addressed attachment with more sophistication than almost any other philosophical tradition, and their analysis applies directly to this fear. Seneca wrote in his letters to Lucilius in 65 AD that we should love everything we have the way a traveler loves a beautiful inn, fully and genuinely, while never forgetting that we will move on. Applied to romantic relationships, this principle produces something that sounds paradoxical but isn't. The woman who is genuinely willing to be alone, who has built a life that is genuinely good on its own terms, whose sense of self does not require a partner to be complete, is not less capable of love. She is more capable of it, because she can choose a partner from a position of genuine wholeness rather than from a position of need. She can love without the desperate possessive quality that need produces. She can maintain her standards without the fear that maintaining them will leave her permanently alone, because she has already confronted that possibility and decided that a life without the right relationship is preferable to a life in the wrong one. The Stoic woman's relationship with romantic love is not cold. It is clear. She wants connection. She does not require it for her fundamental stability, and that distinction between wanting and requiring is the difference between a woman who chooses her partner deliberately and one who accepts whoever is available because the alternative feels unbearable. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Whether a specific person stays or goes is an outside event. How you build your life, what standards you maintain, who you choose to be in relationship, those are yours. The Stoic woman puts her energy where it belongs.
The third modern application is ambition, and this is where Stoic philosophy confronts one of the most complex and specifically modern challenges women face. The culture sends simultaneous messages: be ambitious but not too ambitious, be successful but not threatening, want more but perform gratitude for what you have, pursue power but don't look like you're pursuing it. Most women have internalized some version of these contradictions and experience them as internal conflict rather than as the external double standard they actually are. The Stoic application here begins with a principle that cuts through all of it: the source of your ambition matters more than its scale. If your ambition is externally sourced, if you want success because of what other people's approval of that success will make you feel, then you are dependent on external conditions for your satisfaction, and that dependency will never resolve regardless of how much external success you accumulate. If your ambition is internally sourced, if you pursue what genuinely matters to you because it genuinely matters to you, independent of what anyone else's assessment of it might be, then the pursuit itself is its own justification, and the outcome, whatever it is, doesn't determine whether the pursuit was worthwhile. Epictetus was precise about this. Pursue what is genuinely yours to pursue. Put complete effort into the things within your control. Release the outcome. A woman who has done genuinely excellent work and has not been recognized for it has still done genuinely excellent work. The recognition or its absence is not within her control. The work was. The Stoic woman is ambitious without being attached to outcomes she can't control, which means she can pursue more aggressively, more consistently, and more sustainably than any woman whose pursuit is driven by the need for external validation that may or may not arrive.
The fourth modern application is criticism, specifically the kind of public, visible, often anonymous criticism that the modern world makes available to anyone with an audience, and to everyone who observes anyone with an audience. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations something that has particular relevance here. I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others. He was identifying the same dynamic 2,000 years ago that social media has now amplified to an almost unbearable degree. The paradox of caring enormously about the opinions of people you would never consult on any important matter in your actual life. The Stoic application is not to stop caring about criticism entirely. It is to sort criticism accurately. Criticism from someone who knows you well, who has relevant expertise, who is offering it in good faith, and whose judgment you respect in the relevant domain. That criticism is information. Take it seriously, examine it honestly, use it to improve. Criticism from someone who doesn't know you, who has no expertise, who is anonymous, or whose judgment you would not respect in person. That criticism is noise, not painful noise, necessarily, but noise. The Stoic woman has a clear internal standard for sorting these two categories, and she applies it consistently enough that the volume of modern criticism, the comment sections, the social media responses, the ambient judgment of public life, does not reach the place in her where her sense of self actually lives. Not because she has built walls, because she has built something more permanent than walls. A self-assessment that is accurate enough that it doesn't require external validation to maintain itself, and isn't destroyed by external criticism when it comes.
The fifth modern application is loss, and this is the one that no philosophy can make easy, but that Stoicism makes survivable in a way that few other frameworks can match. Loss comes in many forms in the modern woman's life. The relationship that ends, the career that doesn't develop the way it was supposed to, the friendship that dissolves, the parent who dies, the version of herself she had to give up to become who she actually became. The Stoics were not cold about loss. Marcus Aurelius buried children. Seneca lost friends, and was eventually ordered to his own death. Epictetus lost his freedom for decades. They grieved. The Stoic philosophy never taught that grief was wrong, or that loss shouldn't hurt. What it taught is that the suffering produced by loss has two components: the genuine pain of the loss itself, which is real and non-negotiable, and the additional suffering produced by the judgment that the loss shouldn't have happened, that the universe owes you what you've lost, that things should be different than they are. The first component is unavoidable, the second is optional, and the second is often larger than the first. The Stoic practice with loss is to let the genuine grief be exactly what it is, fully, without suppression or performance, while refusing to add to it the layer of suffering produced by wishing things were otherwise. Things are as they are. What you lost was never guaranteed to be permanent. The universe owed you nothing, and the loss of something doesn't retroactively destroy the value of having had it. These aren't comforts, they're accurate observations. An accurate observation, the Stoics found, is often more genuinely helpful in grief than comfort, because comfort is temporary and can feel false, while accuracy remains true.
The sixth modern application is beauty in the body, and this is perhaps where the gap between what the modern world tells women and what Stoic philosophy actually says is most extreme. The modern world tells women that their bodies are the primary site of their value, that the current beauty standard is a reasonable and relevant measure of their worth, and that the enormous psychological energy spent pursuing, maintaining, and worrying about physical appearance is appropriately invested. The Stoics had a clear and direct response to all of this. The body is not within your control, and therefore attaching your fundamental worth to it is a philosophical error with predictable psychological consequences. This does not mean the Stoic woman doesn't care for her body. She does, with the same discipline and attention she brings to everything else within her control. She eats well, she exercises, she sleeps, she takes what care she genuinely can. And then she releases the outcomes, the specific shape her body takes, how she is assessed by external standards, how she compares to other women, or to the culture's current ideal, because those outcomes are not hers to control. Her worth is located in her character. Her character is entirely within her control. The energy that is not spent on the unwinnable war with the body's inability to match a standard designed to be unattainable is available for everything that actually produces a genuinely good life.
The seventh and final modern application is solitude, and this is the one most directly threatened by the structure of modern life. The Stoics were consistent across all their writing about the necessity of time alone with your own mind, not as rest or recovery from social activity. As a practice, deliberate, regular, protected time in which you are neither consuming nor producing content, neither performing nor being observed, neither comparing nor being compared, but simply present with the quality of your own thinking. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He was writing this as the ruler of Rome, a man whose external life was maximally occupied and socially demanding, about the practice of finding internal solitude within that external chaos. For the modern woman whose external life is similarly occupied and whose access to genuine solitude is disrupted by a device she carries that makes her perpetually available to every other person's demand on her attention, this practice requires active protection rather than passive access. The Stoic woman protects her solitude not because she is antisocial, but because she understands that without it she is constantly being shaped by external input and never doing the internal work of examining whether that shaping is taking her in the right direction. Solitude is where the morning and evening reviews happen. It is where self-examination becomes possible. It is where the Stoic woman finds out who she actually is when nobody is watching and nothing is performing. And who you are when nobody is watching is the only thing that Stoic philosophy has ever been interested in.
This is the complete framework, 3 parts: foundation, principles, and application. The Stoic woman is not an ancient figure in a toga with nothing in common with your life. She is a woman who has decided to locate her worth, her stability, and her fundamental sense of self entirely within herself, and who practices that decision daily in the specific circumstances of the specific world she actually inhabits. The ancient world is gone. The pressure to derive your identity from external conditions is not. The solution is the same now as it was then. Build the internal structure first. Everything else follows from that, or it doesn't, and either way, you remain standing. Subscribe and hit the bell, because next week we're covering how a Stoic handles a breakup. No crying, no begging, no waiting for closure that is never coming. Because once you understand what it means to be a Stoic woman, the next test is whether that holds when someone you love decides to leave. And for the Stoic woman, it does. See the game, control the game,